Emily, what did you love this week in League of Legends competitive?
So my love and hate go hand in hand. So I'll start with what I loved, and it was C9's draft against Team Liquid. I know a lot of people do not appreciate when we abuse support items to get more gold, especially in the bottom lane. It used to be an issue with people picking support items in other lanes. Now it's more specifically you try to do a duo lane like this where you're both rushing and you get to fulfill your support items before you have individual penalties. That is the idea behind the Lux Sona lane. I absolutely loved this composition, actually. I thought it was great. I thought it was, if not innovative, at least taking an available exploit and testing it out and seeing what you could do. I also think that it was kind of a smart idea to bring it out against TL because I feel like they're a strong enough team that they would be able to punish if C9 made a mistake, and C9 made a lot of mistakes in execution. I'll get to that later. But just generally, I really liked the comp. I like to see them experimenting with different things, and I don't think the reason why they lost was the fact that they locked in this composition.
So Emily had a chance to speak with Nisqy, the mid laner for C9. Speaking of composition, she asked him that question, and here is what the Turkish mid laner had to say.
Lost to TL, but with a very interesting composition. So I want to start there. How much did you guys practice this going into this match?
I think we've had probably 3 to 4 games with it, and every game was kind of easy in our favor. But also that's kind of every scrim we play. So it's like, was it actually really good, or was it like not that good, but we still won because we're just the better team in scrims? But I felt like it was fine. I think we played 4 times, so we're not like as comfy as like every other comp we played like thousands of times. So yeah, I think it's something new we're trying.
So a lot of the like post game discussion has been around like whether you would try this out against a team like TL, who's also vying for first place, or IMT, who's obviously like more towards the mid bottom of the standings. Was it because you just like you really wanted to test this out against a better team to see how it could be exploited?
Not really. I think we just thought that it'd give us kind of the edge on like how we could actually like surprise TL and how we would play the game, because usually they don't like punish us in the early game, and with Sonalux that's kind of what teams try to do, right? They try to punish it. Um, but yeah, like even today I feel like we played really well early. Like they made lots of mistakes. We capitalized on it, but then we made some really dumb plays in the mid game, which led them to kind of come back and then just go away with the game. So
Well, maybe Niski's a midfielder too, play some soccer, who knows. That full interview is available on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ESPN Esports. We also have interviews there with Huhi of Golden Guardians, as well as Wonder from G2. We'll get to that a little bit later. Now let's turn the tables a full 180. Emily, what did you hate this week in competitive League of Legends?
So I mean, hate's a strong word, but I strongly disliked the way that C9 ended up playing out this composition, especially against what TL walked in. I know that a lot of people were talking about this on Twitter. Like a lot of analysts were talking about this on Twitter, so I won't like repeat too much. But basically, C9 could have kind of just stacked MR and left Team Liquid completely in the dust. They also mis-executed more than a few times in terms of timing. Like this is a very ultimate based composition because you have Shen, Hecarim, Set, and then the Sona Lux that we talked about. So you're basically looking for like really big 5v5 fights where you're basically supporting Blabber to go in and just destroy people. And I know everyone's going to point out the insane Blitzcrank hook, like Core JJ basically like carried his team to victory. But even then, you can see C9's like missteps there where Blabber decides to go in anyway, and I think he thinks that Licorice is going to support him with the ultimate, but Licorice doesn't come in. And it just seemed like they were not on the same page enough to be able to execute this composition as well as it could have been to win. Which is why that's why we play the game, So, but I think I really love this draft. I really think that C9 could have done a lot better in terms of execution. But to wrap everything up, I still appreciate that they tested it out and tried it. And I don't disagree with that decision whatsoever. I think that was actually really great to see from them, because you have to try to keep yourself sharp and ahead when you are like C9 and you are like by default at the top of the standings. So I did really like this look from them. Execution was not great.
Yeah, they bullied the entire top side of the map, and like the biggest question in bot lane was the only thing that didn't get beat up so hard on, and which obviously allowed Tactical and Core JJ some room. What I was like asking myself when I saw them draft this is like, who did they scrim this against, right? Because like this feels like something that like someone would definitely leak, and I'm wondering if it did. Whereas like Blitzcrank is actually really smart to play against a comp like that, and I was kind of surprised. Like I know Core can kind of play a little bit of everything, but I was a little surprised by the Blitzcrank pick. It definitely felt like something that they like anticipated. I don't know if that was like mid draft. They're like, oh yeah, let's go Blitz, or if they like knew something was coming. I'm really curious like who C9 actually ended up scrimmaging with, where they pulled a comp like this out in scrims earlier last week.
I don't know, but if I was picking into the C9 comp, I would not have picked such a magic. Damn it! Like they didn't itemize properly against it, but TL's composition from my perspective and from I think most people's perspective is that it's really easy to itemize against. I don't disagree with the Blitzcrank pick, but just generally like Ezreal, Syndra, Mordekaiser, like they're all really magic heavy champions that you can kind of just easily build MR and steamroll, especially if C9's comp gets going, which it did. So I think it came down to team fighting.
To be fair though, like Shin is awful to build MR on of all the champions in this game, right? Like if you're
he didn't have to build the Frozen Heart. He didn't have to build the Frozen Heart.
That was pointless, but I will say like
I love Licorice, but he did not have to build the Frozen Heart.
The tank champs on C9 though, they don't itemize particularly well with MR. Hecarim does, obviously. Spirit Vista is just quite good on him, but nonetheless, yeah, Shin feels terrible to build MR against.